they announced the strongest extreme measures that shocked people. Shot everyone who crossed the border. These days, due to the C-19 panic, Kim Jong-un made an unreasonable decision over and over. This is what Ha Tae-kyung, a lawmaker from South Korea, said on November 27th. Kim Jong-un executed one of Pyongyang's largest foreign exchange traders because the exchange rate fell. He also banned getting fish and producing salt in North Korean waters over the concern that seawater could be contaminated with C-19. North Korea has suffered from trade sanctions, the C-19 pandemic, and flood this year. After this triple crisis, Kim Jong-un's irrational measures have created undue anger. It was revealed that in August, a key official who imported South Korean goods from Sinŭiju Customs was executed, and even 110,000 tons of rice from China were not imported because of the fear of C-19 contamination. Reports say that because of the fear of the C-19 contamination, people are not allowed to catch fish and were even forbidden to get salt. This is showing us how threatening the situation appears to Kim Jong-un. There were also a number of regional blockades in North Korea while the fear of the spread of C-19. Haesan City, a border area between North Korea and China in Yangon Province, was blocked on November 1st, Lasan City on November 5th, Nampo City on November 6th, and the capital of North Korea, Pyongyang, was also blocked on November 20th. The economic damage caused by this regional blockade is also enormous. The National Intelligence Service of South Korea reported as follows. With imports from China stopped, the price of sugar, spices, and food have quadrupled, and as prices rise, smuggling becomes inevitable. In fact, the price of spices went from $15 to $70, and so did the price of sugar from $5 to $25 per kilogram. North Korea appears to be approaching one of its most difficult times. After North Korea had to deal with three crises, the seriousness of the words describing the economic difficulties become tougher. First, they used the worst adversity, and then very severe challenge, now unprecedented hardship. One of the least comprehensible acts of Kim Jong-un in particular was the execution of the money changer because the exchange rate fell. However, many experts say that Kim Jong-un banned them altogether because he believes the use of the dollar could potentially transport the C-19. North Korean media have reported day after day about the spread of the C-19 situation overseas and also informed about their quarantine situation in North Korea. Of course, it is officially announced that there is no confirmed case in North Korea, but no one would simply believe the North Korea's claim. Asia Press, a Japanese media company specializing in North Korea, reported on October 23. Kim Jong-un himself admitted a C-19 outbreak in North Korea before. Before checking claim of Asian Press, we will see one video. This is what Kim Jong-un said on October 10th, marking the 75th anniversary of the founding of North Korea.
한 명의 악성 비루스 피해자도 없이 모두가 건강해 주셔서 정말 고맙습니다. 세상이 놀라지 않을 수 없는 오늘의 이 승리는 우리 인민들 스스로가 이루어낸 위대한 승리입니다.
Kim Jong-un stated in public that the C-19 pandemic has caused no damage in North Korea, but Asian Press reported that Kim Jong-un made contrary remarks at an emergency meeting of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party convened on July 25th. The following is the content of the internal document, which Ishimaru Jiro of Asian Press described as a top secret. At the July 25th meeting, Comrade Kim Jong-un said that we have not been able to block the entry of the new virus into our country, despite the fact that we have been working on strict quarantine measures in all directions across the country for the past 6 months. It was a 7-page document that only limited executive had access to. There was also a statement related to the position of the North Korean leadership. Our country is now facing a terrible health crisis. We are now facing one of the most vicious viruses that have threatened and seized the whole world. However, we must face this fight with great responsibility and win with infinite loyalty. The document also shows that C-19 had spread to North Korea at least 3 months before the 75th anniversary, and he was aware of this grave situation. So how serious is the situation in North Korea really? The Japanese Sankei Shimbun reported on April 26 that North Korea's C-19 deaths were 267 and 50,000 suspected cases, citing a report by a North Korean refugee group with North Korean military background. Currently, North Korea has virtually no countermeasures against the C-19. The North Korean authorities are responding to this crisis by closing themselves off from the outside and isolating everyone that shows suspicious symptoms. This is their only quarantine system. If someone shows symptoms, the authorities prohibit all family members and neighbors from going out for about 3 weeks and block the area with 24-hour surveillance. Also, there is no separation between the citizens and the infected. As a result, the number of people in need in North Korea is increasing due to the effect of excessive isolation that people have to face. An article, an informant living in North Korea said like this: authorities are telling us to look out for C-19 from China, but the real purpose is to prevent the citizens who are struggling to earn a living from fleeing to China. As the situation in North Korea gets more and more serious, they announced the strongest extreme measures that shocked people. Shot everyone who crossed the border. On August 25th, the announcement was made on behalf of the police to any station or public place on Chinese border. The main content of this announcement now follows. In the interest of North Korea's social security, buffer zones and exclusion zones have been established according to regional characteristics around the border. This is to prevent pandemic disease that could lead to major disasters. Number 1. The buffer zone will be set up 1 to 2 kilometers from the border. The transport of goods by vehicles is strictly forbidden together with the entire citizens. Number 2. People and vehicles are not allowed to drive at night on the roads and train tracks next to the border. Number 3. Fire unconditionally at people and animals entering this area. Number 4. All facilities and residents must strictly follow the guidelines set out in northern border region to prevent infectious disease and ensure the safety of their home country. As a result, citizens in the border area live in fear every day. A local informant from Asian Press explained the situation like this: at the time, I was almost starving to death. Now the market has reopened, but the Chinese border is still inaccessible and forbidden. The night curfew is still going on. We hardly have any electricity either. Also, Daily NK, a media company specializing in North Korea, reports as follows. The Wewon County near the Chinese border has also launched a blockade for a month from the 16th of last month because of the deaths from virus. However, in this tragic situation, North Korea is trying to solve the internal C-19 problems itself without informing the outside world. If Kim Jong-un asks a foreign country for help, he can get it. But he stubbornly blocks all outside help in order to keep the North Korean regime going. This year, North Korea faced 3 disasters and suffered enormous damage. However, if North Korean government to solve this problem again with foreign aid, distrust of the North Korean regime could spread among the North Korean population. And that's why Kim Jong-un is desperately trying to solve this problem himself. Then why is Kim Jong-un facing C-19 with such extreme fear? Kim Jong-un is oversensitive as he has concerns about his own health situation, which could get worse not only because of the C-19 but also by poisoning all other viruses. Kim Jong-un's health is not the best. He is only 36 years old but has serious underlying illnesses, including illnesses he shouldn't have until he is 70. He is about 170 centimeters tall and weighs 140 kilograms, so it is clear that he belongs to the risk group. Then if he got infected, then there's few possibility to survive. Also, the fact that both President Donald Trump and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson had become infected with C-19 caused Kim Jong-un to panic. This is not the first time Kim Jong-un has been afraid of the virus. When African swine fever spread in North Korea in May of last year, Kim Jong-un had all pigs killed even though pigs are considered the best source of food in North Korea. It was a measure that was carried out of fear of the spread of African swine fever and that it could have spread to Kim Jong-un. But now Kim Jong-un is more afraid of C-19 than anything, including US sanctions against North Korea. Considering the people suffering from and having nothing to eat in North Korea, Kim Jong-un can easily get aid from abroad and he has to. However, even in such a situation, Kim Jong-un will not receive the aid because of the infection that may occur in the process of receiving aid. He even refused the rice from China because of his regime and fear of C-19. Then how long can North Korean population hold up without any outside help? This winter, more people in North Korea will be infected with C-19, and in such a worst case, no one will be able to predict what he's gonna do. All the time appreciate your likes and comments. Thanks for watching. Be safe.